The courtroom air crackled, thick with anticipation. Every seat was filled. Reporters, their fingers poised over keyboards, waited. Outside, the world held its breath. Sean "Diddy" Combs, now clad in prison orange, sat at the defense table. The titan of music, fashion, and business looked diminished. His empire, once vast, now seemed impossibly distant. His lawyer whispered, but Diddy remained motionless, his gaze fixed on the judge's entrance. The doors swung open. Judge stepped into the room, his presence silencing every murmur. Eyes locked on him. Diddy's head barely moved, a flicker of acknowledgement before returning to his defeated stance. This was it. Chaos reigned beyond the courthouse walls. Protests erupted, a cacophony of voices both condemning and defending. Satellite trucks lined the streets, helicopters circled overhead. Millions watched, waited, their screens reflecting the gravity of the moment. Judge settled into his seat, the rustle of papers amplifying the silence. His eyes scanned the room, lingering on the families of the victims, their faces etched with years of pain. Then his gaze met Diddy's, a silent acknowledgement. The final act was about to begin. Before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe, so you never miss new uploads. A cough echoed in the tense atmosphere. A marshal shifted. The prosecutor adjusted his notes, a grim line on his lips. Everyone knew. No amount of power, influence, or wealth could alter the inevitable. The judge opened the file. Each page turned a deliberate act, heightening the suspense. Diddy glanced at his mother, seated alongside his children. Her tears flowed silently. His youngest daughter trembled, burying her face in her aunt's shoulder. A wave of despair washed over him. The world outside faded away. Only the next few minutes mattered. The judge paused, his expression unreadable, his hand resting on the cover. The empire Sean Combs had built teetered on a precipice. The prosecutor rose, his movements precise, his voice cutting through the silence. "Your Honor, this case is not about music. It is not about fame. It is about a man who believed he was untouchable." His words hung in the air, heavy with accusation. He pointed toward Diddy. For years he amassed power, wealth, and influence. But behind the facade there were choices. Choices that inflicted pain, shattered lives, and left wounds that time cannot heal. He paused, acknowledging the victims' families. A mother clutched a photograph, her face contorted in grief. These families have waited for this day. They have lived in the shadow of his actions while he operated above the law. Today, Sean Combs will be held accountable. Diddy shifted, his head bowed, the facade of confidence cracking. Fear flickered in his eyes. The prosecutor's voice intensified. "This is not about vengeance. It is about justice. And justice demands a message to every victim who has been silenced, a message to every powerful man who believes fame grants immunity, a message to Sean Combs himself. You are not above the law." A wave of emotion swept through the room. Reporters scribbled frantically. This court cannot allow wealth to rewrite the rules. It cannot allow influence to buy silence. It cannot let power erase pain. He leaned toward the judge. "We ask for the maximum penalty. Anything less would be a betrayal of justice." Diddy's lawyer, Marcus, whispered urgently, but Diddy remained unresponsive, lost in his own thoughts. The prosecutor softened his tone, but his words remained powerful. For too long they have carried the burden of his choices. Today they deserve justice. The world deserves justice. He stepped back, the silence amplifying his words. Outside, the sounds of the world intruded. Inside, all eyes were fixed on the judge. Judge rested his hands on the file, his expression inscrutable. Marcus Hill, Diddy's lawyer, rose slowly, the weight of the moment palpable. The courtroom shifted. Marcus walked to the podium, his movements measured, his hand trembling slightly. "Your Honor," he began, his voice low, "I stand before you not just to defend Sean Combs, the artist, the businessman, the celebrity, but Sean Combs, the human being." He paused, scanning the room. Yes, mistakes were made. Yes, choices were made that caused pain. We do not deny that. But we cannot define an entire life by its worst moments. He gestured toward Diddy. This is a man who created opportunities, who gave back to communities, who inspired hope. He acknowledged the victims' families. To those who have suffered, we hear you, Sean hears you. Nothing can undo the pain, but he carries it with him. Marcus turned to the judge, his voice resonating. We are not asking for forgiveness. We are not asking for freedom without consequence. We are asking for balance. We are asking for justice that recognizes both the pain and the possibility of redemption. He stepped closer to the bench. A life sentence would punish his children, his family. It would destroy any chance of restoration. Diddy's mother sobbed silently. His sons stared blankly. Marcus's voice cracked. This man has lost everything. His empire is crumbling. His name, his freedom, his reputation are gone. But within him there is still someone who can give back, someone who can change. He paused, his voice trembling but firm. Please do not take away the rest of his life. Give him a chance to prove he can be more than his worst mistakes. Silence descended, absolute and profound. Marcus returned to the defense table, placing a hand on Diddy's shoulder. Diddy remained motionless. Diddy rose slowly, his legs trembling. His voice was weak, broken. Your Honor, he began, his voice cracking, I know what has been said about me. I know I have made mistakes. I know I have hurt people I can never make it right with, and I know no apology can erase that pain. He looked at his mother and children. I spent my life building something, an empire, music, business, fame. I thought I was untouchable. I was wrong. None of that matters. What matters is my family, my children, my mother, the people I let down, the people I hurt. His voice grew desperate. I'm not asking to walk away. I know I have to pay for what I've done. There have to be consequences. But please don't take away the rest of my life. Please don't take me away from my children until they're grown. Give me the chance to show them, to show the world that I can change, that I can be better. He lowered his head, his voice a whisper. I've lost everything. My name, my freedom, my empire. All I have left is this chance to try and be something more than my worst mistakes. He paused, his body shaking. Your Honor, I'm begging you. Please have mercy. The courtroom was frozen. Outside, the chaos felt distant. Inside, one man pleaded for time. The judge's expression remained unreadable. The silence stretched, thick and unbroken. Diddy's words lingered, raw and fragile. A sob broke the silence. One of the victim's mothers rose, clutching a photograph. My daughter is gone, she whispered, her voice shaking. And you think sorry is enough? Diddy lowered his head. Do you know what you took from us? Do you know what it's like to wake up every day to an empty chair? Her. Cries echoed. A man stood, his voice filled with rage. 16 years isn't enough. A lifetime won't be enough. You think your fame means you get to walk away while we're left with nothing? Judge raised his hand. Order. The room quieted. A victim's sister leaned forward. We don't get second chances. We don't get them back. So why should you? Diddy squeezed his eyes shut. Judge looked over the room, his face still. This court has heard the voices of the families. We have heard their pain, their cries, and their anger. We have also heard the plea of the defense and the statement of Mr. Combs himself. Every word spoken in this courtroom will be carried in the decision I am about to deliver. The courtroom froze. Judge adjusted his glasses. Mr. Combs, he said, his tone heavy. Please rise and face the court. The scrape of the chair echoed. Diddy rose slowly, his head bowed. The entire courtroom held its breath. The air was heavy. Diddy stood, his hands clenched. His face was pale. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Judge leaned forward. Mr. Combs, he began, I have listened to every word spoken in this courtroom. I have weighed the pain of the victims, the pleas of the defense, and your own words. This is not an easy decision, but it is a necessary one. The gallery leaned forward. Reporters stopped. Writing. Diddy's mother cried silently. Judge picked up the sentencing papers, his eyes locking with Diddy's. For years you lived as though the rules did not apply to you. Power, wealth, influence. You believed they placed you above accountability. But today, the law speaks louder than power. Diddy's chest rose sharply. It is the judgment of this court that you, Sean Combs, are hereby sentenced to life in federal prison without the possibility of parole. The words exploded in the silence. Chaos erupted. Gasps tore through the gallery. Victims' families cried out in relief. Reporters scrambled. Diddy's legs gave way. Marcus caught him. His face was buried in his hands, his body shaking. Judge slammed the gavel. Order in the court. Mr. Combs will be remanded into federal custody, effective immediately. Marshals moved in. The cuffs tightened. Diddy turned his head, his eyes locking on his children. His youngest daughter screamed. Outside, chaos erupted. Inside, the weight of life in prison settled over Diddy. The empire he built shattered. He went from untouchable to inmate. The sound of the gavel still echoed as the marshals tightened the cuffs. Diddy's shoulders sagged. He was no longer a mogul, but an inmate. His mother broke down. His daughter screamed. Reporters scrambled. Outside, protesters screamed. Supporters cried. Critics cheered. Headlines exploded. Diddy sentenced to life in prison. From mogul to inmate. The empire crumbles. Social media melted down. Celebrities posted cryptic statements. Business partners pulled endorsements. An empire collapsed in real time. Inside the holding area, Diddy sat alone, cuffed, staring at the floor. His lawyer sat defeated. The muffled roar from outside faded into silence. There were no more stages, no crowds, no plaques, just fluorescent lights and the cold certainty of what lay ahead. Victims' families embraced, finding closure. The music industry reeled. Contracts hung in limbo. Streams plummeted. Everyone distanced themselves from Diddy. As Diddy was escorted into the transport van, cameras screamed. He didn't look up. He didn't wave. He didn't speak. He just stepped inside. The door slammed shut. That image defined the day. Sean. Diddy Combs disappearing into the van, chained and defeated. The man who ruled was gone. The empire had fallen. Nothing would ever be the same.